So Brenda, one of the topics that frequently comes up nowadays, particularly in our area where we have quite a few large adoptive families, is simply, is this good for kids to be in large families?
Well, I'm a large family parent. I have 14 kids. You're a large family parent as well. You have a very large number. Um, I think it depends on the situation, and you can only make the best judgment call at the time. Social workers can look at how the family's functioning in the moment. They have to consider what resources are available. They need to consider the needs and the risks of the children that they're placing. Whether they're placing one child, a sibling group, or whatever, how well they can integrate with the children who are already there. And I think the larger community support that may be available. But of course, you only know what you know in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going to be happening in 5 years. Large families do have a very high marital breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
I work with many large families where the marriage hasn't broken down, but it's not working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're just staying together because they're good people and they don't want to abandon the other or abandon their commitment to the children and the family, but they're not happy. So that's a huge toll for many couples, and you can't predict that at the point of placement. You don't know what it's going to be like with that 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 sibling groups you've placed when they all hit their teens, what that's going to do to the family. You don't know what resources will be there in 5 years. And I know for us there were many more resources in place during some of our adoptions than there are now with all the cutbacks. So things we could have accessed, we can't access now. But I think in general, given all that, that I think large families have a real place in the adoption world. The pre-parented children have so many issues, as we all know, and oftentimes parents in large families have developed a huge repertoire of skills in order to deal with them. And the parents of large families often don't have the same kind of needs.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough other kids that for a new child who's not very gratifying to raise, or a sibling group, the parents can tolerate that because they have other kids who are meeting their needs. It's also, the kids meet a lot of each other's needs. However, it can be positive, can also be negative. I mean, in any family, whether it's a family with pre-parented children or a neurotypical family or a genetic family, any kind of family, there can be violence, there can be sexual intrusion, sexual abuse. I don't think that we have any problems that are different, but I think we have to be more aware and watching and proactive for problems that could come about. And the more children you have, then the more active you have to be on that. So something else to look at is the energy level of the parents. Are they able to sort of change their whole life to take on that role? And I think too, within that, when you have a large family, when you have many children, that's really all you have in your life. You may have work because you have to support them, and you have your family, but you're not going to join the bowling league. You're not going to be on some board of directors to help the environment. You're going to be simply raising your children. There is not time. The more children you get, the less time there is for anything else. So is it a family that is willing to give up, or does it need a larger interaction with the community?
How do you respond when people say things like, how do you possibly give them all enough time and love?
Well, what I say is I don't. But that doesn't mean I don't give them enough. And it doesn't mean that they're not getting their needs met. I mean, I look back on I have 9 grown and 5 at home, and I think of a lot of things that some of my kids didn't get from me time-wise, things I missed, and I have great regret and sorrow for that. But I also hear from them how much they love our family. They love being together. And I see them as young adults helping each other out from time to time. They're not dedicating, the young adults aren't dedicating their lives to each other, but if they have a sibling who's struggling with their early independence, they're great. They're very good at trying to help out here and there. And, they're not, they're functioning really well. They're doing really well. So they had to have been getting enough. And maybe that's just my denial, I don't know. But and I'm also not sure they'd have gotten it in a smaller family either. When you're talking about a huge number of needs, can be overwhelming for parents if that's all they've got to deal with is the 1 or 2 children. So I think that most parents in large families provide a great deal.
How do you help people to do what you were just explaining, looking ahead if they've got a large family already and they decide to adopt a sibling group, and perhaps all their kids are sort of a bit younger and they don't really know what lies ahead? How do you help them to prepare for that?
Well, I try to talk to them about the fact that in this day and age, the likelihood of everything they've got in place now still being there later is unlikely. We're in a time of decreasing services, and that will continue. So they need to have that awareness. Being proactive about their marriage. If I'm assuming that they're married, they may in fact be single parents. There's single parents who have huge families and do very well. But if you're a single parent, then you're still going to need other supports. So do you have extended family? Do you have other people that can help you out? With a marriage, how are you going to keep your marriage alive? How are you going to plan for that time to remember that you're a husband or a wife over the long run? The short run's easy enough. The long run isn't. And looking ahead at your community, is this a place where you can actually raise children with a huge number of needs, or are you going to stand out like a sore thumb and it's going to isolate your kids because you're the weirdos down the street with 15 kids?
Okay, thank you.